Hello friends, my name is Birdcatcher, this is Bastion, and I'm going to stay quiet for the first minute or so, just in case you don't know quite what this game's about, so you can get a general idea of what it's like.
Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble. Ground forms up under his feet as if pointing the way. He don't stop to wonder why. Finds his lifelong friend just lying in the road. Well, it's a touching reunion. He sees what's left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant. In the calamity. That a survivor? No, ma'am. It's a gas fella. Forced out from underground. Kid pops him good. Fella got a piece of him though. Kid just rages for a while.
Alright, I think you get the general idea. Yes, this is one of the very most famous examples of a video game that features a narrator extensively. In fact, it might be one of the first ones, at least in my experience, that ever really had this sort of mechanic thrown into the game. At any rate, it's very, very effective. And right here is the second weapon you get in the game, the Fang Repeater. It allows you to shoot little projectiles and destroy things, like, at a distance, as most guns are wont to do. So, this game is probably one of my all-time favorite games ever. I think that it's truly a work of art, and as such, I would like to mostly discuss things that I feel are really more of the artistic and perhaps maybe gameplay-related things that I feel are very pertinent to this game. I would also like to talk, perhaps, great detail, the soundtrack in particular for this game, as I am a music major. So, I would like to hopefully talk about maybe the songwriting process, maybe the use of synthesizers, how those various effects are accomplished, and maybe even get a little bit into the music theory, the ethnomusicology that's at play in this very, very, very amazing soundtrack. And I bring up this soundtrack because if anybody out there has actually played this game, you'll know that this soundtrack is extraordinary. Go on Spotify, go on YouTube, whatever you want, and you just will be doing yourself a great favor. If you're not familiar with the soundtrack, just give it a listen. It is by far one of the greatest video game soundtracks that I can think of. And here's going back to the gameplay sort of stuff, a very, very pertinent example of the intelligent design that went into the gameplay aspects of this game. So you'll notice that I picked up a shield, and the shield is one of the most interesting mechanics in this game because you can use it both offensively and defensively. Later in the game, I will show you more of the offensive capabilities of the shield, but right now you get it in this zone, and it's just a very straightforward type of arena, and it just really throws you into learning how to use the shield, because there's no way you can really conceivably fight all these guys without taking a lot of damage if you don't use the shield, or if you could do what I'm doing right now, which is just dodging everything and shooting at them from a distance. Now, I mentioned that the shield can be used offensively because you can use it to counter incoming attacks. You time your block with a certain point in the rhythm of the opponent's attacks. With the gas bags, it's when they lift up. I think that those were the gas bags. Well, these are the squirts, I know that much. At any rate, when the people with the hammers lift up their hammer, they'll shake it for a second before bringing it down. And if you block right before they bring it down, you'll be able to counter their attack. You'll see me doing this very much with the turrets because they're very easy to counter, and they're kind of a pain, so it's more fun to just kind of kill them. Here, I'm just cleaning up house by just sniping down everything. If you hold down shift and use the Fang Repeater, you'll be able to lock in and auto-aim on your targets. Now, earlier, you can just jump out the window right here and get to the next zone, but I felt like killing everybody because why not? It's just how things go in the Bastion. So here we are at the next stage, and if you listen, there's rain, there's ominous thunder, there's low tones. This is not a happy place. And of course, you might be saying to yourself, Birdcatcher, that's so obvious. Why are you pointing out that there's rain and stuff like that? But I wanted to really convince you that every single thing that goes into the sound design is very well thought out. And it's all so deliberate. So that little setup with the 3 turrets was supposed to teach you that you have better luck if you charge up your bow shots. And in fact, with a lot of the weapons in this game, you'll notice that you can get a more powerful shot if you hold down the attack button and wait until the character flashes before releasing the attack. That's what you're supposed to do there. I got by just simply countering the turret's attacks. So this area brings up a really, really great instance in the soundtrack. It gives me a lot to talk about here, where what we have in the bass is we have a pedal tone, and that's the music theory technical term. A pedal tone is just a repeated note over and over again in the bass. That's just dum, 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 dum. That's what you're hearing going on. Now, pedal tones are very interesting. They are mostly something that we find in emerging in the Romantic era of music. I'm sure that they probably existed in classical, but I can't think of any examples too much off the top of my head. But the function of a pedal tone is very interesting because if from the music theory standpoint, any sort of chord changes, any sort of melodic changes that happen over a pedal tone kind of are negated by the pedal tone. The idea is that the pedal tone overrides and dominates any other changes in the music so that you're focusing mostly on just the sensation of being stuck or impatience or pacing, but those things are all kind of related to the fact that there's this tension between wanting to go somewhere, but you're not really going somewhere. But there's always these impetuses to go to places musically and emotionally that are not being realized because there's something holding you back. In this case, it's the pedal tone, but of course there are many, many dramatic reasons why in the narrative that's going on in this game, why we're not actually able to get anywhere. So why did I really bring up all this stuff about the pedal tone? Well, I think that, the point that I'm trying to make with all this stuff is I feel like the music really serves the narrative here. And this is definitely the tutorial section of the game. So what we're learning is basically how the game works, how to beat enemies, how to move on in the whole game. But we're trying to get to the Bastion here, which we'll get to probably by the end of this video. We don't know what the Bastion is at this point. The kid knows, but we don't know. So we're just kind of like, okay, we need to get to the Bastion, but we have all these obstacles in the way, but we're making progress towards getting through those obstacles, but we still haven't quite realized where we're supposed to be going. So to me, it makes sense that there's kind of this steady marching feeling, but we're still stuck because we haven't actually made it to our goals. But we'll table that for now, because I want to talk about another gameplay aspect. Right here, we've made it to an arena, and it's really interesting the way arenas work in this game, because they either serve one of two purposes. The first arena taught us, the point of it was to teach us how to use the shield. This arena is more of a challenge. It's designed, yes, a little bit, to teach us the mechanics of the gas bag enemy, and how they spit at you, and how if you attempt to apply what you learned in the first arena using the shield and attempt to counter, it doesn't work. So this arena is designed instead to challenge us. We have this boss. I'm going to attempt to counter him, but you learn, oh, you can't counter this guy. I think maybe you can, I just am not doing it very well. At any rate, so that's kind of bringing up the second aspect of arenas in this game, is it's a test. It's sort of like the previous sections of the game were our homework, I guess you could say, to continue the metaphor, where we learned the basic idea of how to fight, and now we have no choice, we have to fight. These things, they were a little bit, I think that they were considered vending machines, and the squirts were pets. This is now the story of the Bastion, of the world of Caelondia. Those were vending machines, if I remember, and squirts were pets. But now they've been repurposed to evil, and if you fall, you get hurt. But that's not painfully obvious. However, falling does bring us into the last point that I want to make up. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to talk about everything I wanted to in this video, but that's why I'm making multiple. So this is another test. This is testing your ability to maneuver, because obviously you can't see it on this video, but the platforms are falling out beneath me, which is kind of interestingly enough, it's a reversal of the idea of the platforms coming up towards you. So why do the platforms come up towards you in the first place in this video game? It's very unique, isn't it? You've probably been watching thinking it's pretty weird. So platforms fall up to you because this game was designed to be a two-dimensional game, which, with the overhead perspective, which did not utilize a mini-map. And I'll talk more about what sort of effects that has on the game, but safe to say, it's very unique and very effective. So next time, thank you for watching. We'll talk about more topics of Bastion.